Hello and welcome to Startup Champions 2.0, the show where you meet and learn from National Startup Award-winning founders. In the show today, you will meet two startup champions from the education and skill development sector. These are StudyAtHome and Thinkable Labs. One day from now, we will be proudly celebrating the 75th Indian Independence Day. The celebrations began when Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ignited 1 billion Indians with the bugle for a new India. Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav has brought 1 billion Indians together. Before we begin today's show, for a while, just imagine how privileged we are. Millions of Indians laid their lives for our freedom. For them, life was a struggle. For us, life is a lot easier. Let's resolve today that our actions will take India to the stage that it commands. And one way to achieve this is by making India the startup capital of the world. We must contribute to the initiatives announced by Honorable Prime Minister. Startups must participate in Startup India, Stand Up India, Make in India, Made in India, and other relevant initiatives. We are the youngest population in the world today. Imagine what we can create with information technology and manufacturing in the digital age. To ignite your imagination, let's now meet our first startup champion and hear their story.
Actually, since I qualified CA, I had been in teaching profession. I have taught all across India, from North India to South India, everywhere. And I felt like the education which I had been providing is not reaching to the remotest corner of India. And the affordability of that education is even very high, which is not accessible to those people who are not well off. This made me feel that I need to do something which can make this education reach everywhere, is made available for all. And there I thought, let's drop all this and come for an vision of educating our Bharat, which is basically 90% of our country. And then I started this edtech startup, StudyAtHome, in 2018. Most of the edtech companies which are operating here in India are focusing only on English education. And you know, we live in a country where we have 90% Bharat and just 10% India. We really ought to do something in Hindi language, and we are doing all our courses in Hindi language, reaching the masses, educating Bharat. Second thing is that the other edtech players are offering courses which are beyond the pocket sizes of lower or lower middle class people. The country is such that we have 57% population earning less than 10,000 per month. Will they be able to afford the courses which is being offered by other edtech players? Obviously no. And there comes StudyAtHome into picture, offering courses at a price which is nearly 1/3 of the price being offered by other edtech players. Our journey had been tremendously growing, and we did it in a short span with right people, right choices, and right technology.
Raj and Tripti, welcome to Startup Champions 2.0. The first thing that I want to really understand from you is, what is the TAM, the total addressable market, or the size of the problem that you're solving in India or in Bharat?
It's 1.2 billion USD as on date.
And what are the total number of users that you're really looking to capture across the country in the next 3 to 5 years?
We are looking to capture somewhere around 10 lakh users in India.
Fantastic. So when you started this venture, did you actually put in your own money, or did you begin with external funding? How did funding really happen for you guys?
No, we started with our own fund, and in fact for next 3 years, it has been always bootstrapped, and then we went for first angel round after 3 years of time. But by God's grace and maybe the quality of our video lectures, we didn't even only generate revenue. We were in profits in the very 5th year of incorporation.
Very interesting. So, what have really been your growth numbers till date? So if you could share with us the last year's growth numbers in terms of revenue.
If we compare this year's revenue with last year's quarter 1 revenue, we are on the growth of 320%.
Very interesting. And you tend to be teaching all of your students in India or in Bharat, as you say, via video lectures. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Interesting. So, and these are recorded videos.
Right.
But what if your students have any doubts? How do they clear these doubts with you?
So once student purchase any courses, he or she might get a very good system wherein they are added to a group in the similar app, which is more featureable, more better than the WhatsApp group. So in that group they can connect with the students, right? Moreover, they can connect with the teachers directly. So that's how they get a very good platform to connect their doubts and have other doubts to be entertained as well.
One thing that I really liked about your product was when you guys say that your product can be used without the internet. Now, tell me more about it, because I do understand while we have so much more mobile internet subscription and spreading in India, but you say that without internet people can actually access videos on your app. How does that happen?
See, accessibility and affordability of internet is really not available all across India. If we really see the remotest corner of India, we won't find people have a sufficient bandwidth to use internet. So we have come up with a solution which doesn't require internet connectivity. And the solution is basically encryption and decryption technology. The video lectures are encrypted, which can be played by a decryptor without using internet.
And you've come up with a very interesting strategy. When you actually say India and Bharat, right? You say that there is 90% Bharat and 10% India, right? Now, tell me something. Why Hindi as your first preference choice, and are you also expanding in other languages as well?
We cater that Bharat where Hindi users on a fact is 12 times bigger than the English users, right? We live in a country where people are born to an extent where the availability and accessibility to resource is not available to a greater extent. So we have just not decided, we have started with the Hindi language, and for the coming years, Hindi is our target. But moreover to the expansion, we make sure that we land up to the vernacular languages too.
My last question to the both of you now is, look, the Startup Champions 2.0 show, right now millions of Indians are watching you. What is your message to them? Because you started up early, you've seen failures, you've seen some level of success as well, and now you're looking at growth from here. So what's your message to all of them?
We have one life. Let's do something which doesn't make only our known ones proud, but in fact the entire Bharat.
Very interesting. Tripti, you're a woman entrepreneur. What's your message to so many more women who might be watching this episode right now?
Now it's the sufficient time we are talking about the women empowerment. Our women in the country are empowered enough to break the odds. It's time for women to lead the stage. It's time for women to stop breaking the things that has already been catered. We are here for the leadership. Stop the empowerment thing and just lead wherever you go.
Love
That's
that.
the only message.
Fantastic. On that note, you heard Raj and Tripti, and now we will summarize this entire session, the top 3 learnings from this session. If you want to take a screenshot of it, do it right away, because I'm going to quickly summarize the session for you. Number 1, solve the right problem for your users. Do you think I'm going right here?
Right.
Absolutely.
Number 2 is make your solution affordable and accessible to a large mass of people, especially when you're doing business in India. And number 3, localization is important on the internet to capture the longest long tail market. This is exactly what Raj and Tripti, you guys have done, right? You've actually captured the longest long tail of Bharat.
Indeed.
Right? And this is exactly what you are going to do in future as well, or are you looking at
Absolutely.
expanding
Yes.
outside of India too?
No, our mission as on date is exactly the same. We need to cater the 90% Bharat, and this is sufficient enough, right? So we are focused on to that. And once we have finished our target, right, we may expand even outside India.
Very interesting. Good luck to the both of you. On that note, it's time to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. On the other side, you will meet a brilliant startup whose innovation has been praised even by the Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi. When you miss the chance to learn, you miss the chance to earn. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back to Startup Champions 2.0. Now imagine that I am visually impaired. Imagine the fact that I cannot actually see like a normal person can. Try and feel it with me. Close your eyes right now and try and realize that you can't read much. You can't locate things. You can't really figure out what's happening in your life. How difficult is that? And that's what a lot of people with visual impairment actually feel every day. The answer to this is my best friend, Annie, right here. The visually impaired can actually read and create a better world. Let's now hear the story of our second startup, Thinkable Lab.
We're all aware that there have been countless innovations and advancements in education in the last 2-3 decades in particular, which has really changed the way people are learning these days. But unfortunately, the entire world of the visually impaired have been left behind in this advancement that we've had in education technology. With this vision in mind of building new age learning solutions for the visually impaired and bringing innovation here, we started Thinkable Lab 6 years ago. In these last 6 years, we've come a long way. We have our first flagship product, which is called Annie. It is the world's most comprehensive braille literacy device. We are currently present in over 50 centers in the country, and we're also exporting to 10 other countries from India. It's a made in India product, and we can't be more proud of this. Our vision is to make education more inclusive, not just for the visually impaired, but anybody who has any kind of special education needs. We can see a lot of innovation coming in here, and we want to build an industrial environment where more and more innovations can come in and change the way people are learning and ensure nobody is left behind in this journey.
So Sanskriti and Dilip, welcome to Startup Champions 2.0.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. I'm very, very excited about not the both of you, but my best friend Annie. How does Annie fundamentally create a better lifestyle for them? What is it that you solve for them?
Annie solves the problem of low braille literacy. It is an inclusive education device that helps anyone teach braille. First you learn by touching, like you learn with the large dot combinations, you learn all the letters, then you have to develop the tactile sensitivity with your fingertips. So I've been in this field for more than 8 years, but I still can only sight read braille. Like if I close my eyes, I won't be able to touch read braille because it takes a tremendous amount of practice. And so Annie becomes a child's learning companion. There's also a bunch of other innovations our team has done in engineering with respect to braille writing and the kind of software ecosystem that powers Annie and actually makes it the go-to inclusive learning tool.
How did you literally just put this all together into a product?
So we actually started while we were in college from Bitspilani, Goa. When we were studying there, we started working on this product. So once we graduated from there, we immediately moved to Bangalore and we incorporated Thinkable Labs. We were very fortunate to have friends and family believe in us at that point in time. So we raised some money from them, and we also participated in a lot of business plan competitions, which gave us prize money and grants, which kept us going. So it also gives a lot of exposure and opened new doors for us. So that's how we started and funded our company in the beginning stages.
So how long did it take for you guys to actually go from an idea to an actually manufactured product stage?
Well, it took about 4 years.
Easy.
Yeah, I think 2014 was the first when we conceived the idea. 2018 was our first commercial launch. Of course, in between that time, Annie went through about 6 different iterations, major iterations, countless minor iterations. And all of them had a lot of field trials that we did in multiple schools, different resource centers, rehabilitation centers. Then finally in Ranchi was our first commercial launch in 2018.
How did you get your first customer?
In the first year of a company, we were going to every B-plan competition available just to ensure there's cash in the company. And I had gone to this startup pitch competition in Kolkata, and one of the jury members there happened to be an IAS officer. And even before the pitch was over, he started asking questions like, where in India is this product? What kind of backing do you have for this data? And when I did answer all the questions, he said that I want Ranchi to be the first city in India to have an Annie Smart class. That's how we got our first customer.
Now, tell me something. Look, you guys are fundamentally problem solvers. A lot of people want to be founders because it is jazzy. It is so cool to be a founder nowadays, right? But what would you want them to really learn? How hard is it? How tough is it? What sort of frustrations do you really go through to finally build something like this and then get all the awards and accolades that you are now getting?
I think the first thing would be to sort of get rid of the script of success. There's no one blueprint of success that you have to follow, and for that you'll just have to look for self-confidence within you. I think that's the biggest learning to be a founder. People say, oh, you do this, you're successful, you do that, you're successful. You have to get rid of that belief system to actually take the leap.
I mean, you get into it knowing there are going to be tough days. It's not always a very sunny day out there, right? So there are going to be rainy days, and it's a belief that you will bounce back no matter how deep you fall. So I think that's what's kept us going. We have the privilege of having 4 of us co-founders, so we've had days where some of us are low, but the other people try and make up for it. So we've kept that going. So having a great team is always very important in ensuring you go the distance.
How have you now structured your organization? So for all of our viewers to really understand, as you're growing as a company, how's your company structured now?
So I think when you start out, everyone is doing everything because it's a game of survival. And as the company grows, it's so important to sort of articulate who is responsible for what. And also that's a very dynamic exercise that you have to sort of build the muscle for. And fortunately, since we started off with 4 founders, I think that's a muscle we built early on. And I'd really like to thank one of our lead investors and advisors who very early on just sort of drilled this in our heads that when you're working with 4 decision makers, you have to learn to disagree but commit.
So the framework for all of you is disagree but commit, right? That's
yes,
important one.
Absolutely.
Okay, my last question to the both of you is, now that millions of Indian youth are actually watching you on this show today, what's your message to them?
So I would say wherever possible, try and look beyond the mainstream. So we will see a lot of unlimited opportunities there. And we need to have the belief that we can create categories. It's not just the mainstream. India is known for services and BPO. It's not just that. There are a lot more opportunities out there for us. So we can be category creators. We can lead the way for the rest of the world. And I mean, there are a lot of people who are doing it in India already. We can look up to them for inspiration, and we can do the same.
Well, I don't think my experience is very representative of women founders in this country. I've been incredibly privileged, to be supported by my family, my families. Both my mother and mother-in-law are doctorates, they're career women, and so they implicitly support me in being my most ambitious self.
So the world is changing, India is changing, and of course, I think you guys are solving a very, very pertinent and a very relevant problem. All the very best to you.
Thank you.
To ensure that you enable and empower so many more people with vision beyond the vision.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. On that note, now for all of you, I will summarize the top 3 learnings of this entire session with Sanskriti and Dilip. Number 1, solve the right problem for your customers or your users. Important is the right problem. Number 2 is make your solution affordable and accessible to your users, because if you don't, nothing is going to work anyways. Number 3, innovation takes time. Remember that. But the intellectual property that you own has phenomenal value, and it keeps you way ahead of your competition. Remember that. What they've created is intellectual property. This, Annie, is intellectual property. This is what will actually build their value and valuation, right? And this is what will help them solve problems at scale. So remember that if you are looking to become a product company like Annie, of course, ensure that you keep that patience and build great intellectual property. It's time now to take a short break, but don't go anywhere, because up next is Q&A, questions and answers. So your questions and answers will be given by the startup champions. And of course, ensure that during this break, you don't while away time. Go to social media and talk about Startup Champions 2.0 with the formal hashtag Startup Champions 2. I will see you on the other side of this break. Welcome back to Startup Champions 2.0. It's time now for Q&A. Your questions answered by our Startup Champions. The first question has come from Nagarjun L from Bengaluru. He's an entrepreneur from Bengaluru.
I'm Nagarjun, entrepreneur from Bangalore. My question is for Thinkable Lab's team. How big is your team, and how have you designed your organization to be lean and efficient?
All right. Thank you for the question, Nagarjuna. We are currently 28 people and counting, continuously hiring. Every time I walk into office, there's a fresh new face. And all that's really exciting. But I think what's key in terms of growing your organization is having your core values and core principles set straight, because the challenges you will face as a team will change every single day in a fast-growing startup. But the values that keep you together will ensure that you grow. So we were 8 people this time last year. We're 28 today, and hire people who share the same core values as you. That would be my answer.
Fascinating. Thank you so much. The second question has come from Shivaditya Purohit. He's an entrepreneur from New Delhi.
Hi, I'm Shivaditya Purohit, a holistic health and well-being professional and entrepreneur from New Delhi. My question is for StudyAtHome team. Usually the edtech companies have a very low course completion rate. What is the percentage for you?
Tough question. So usually, the course completion rates for edtech companies are very, very low. How is it for you? What's the key core numbers?
We have different categories of courses, like we offer academics, professional courses, skill development, and even government competitive examination. But when we go for skill development courses, you'll find that the courses itself is of say 15 hours, 20 hours or 25 hours. And we provide them the validity of say 3 months, 6 months or 12 months. And we surprisingly find that the course completion is 92% just in first week or first 15 days only. So they are so engaging and interesting.
I hope, Shivaditya, you got your answer. You earn when you learn. Let's continue our learning. Today, you will know step number 1 of how to start a startup. Guys, this is going to be very interesting. We are actually telling our audience steps from 1 to 26 in every episode on how to actually start a startup.
Oh,
right?
That's amazing.
So let's see if you guys agree to it. So step number 1 is going to be the idea. Now, a lot of founders actually, in their early stages say, is my idea good or bad? That's what you're going to learn today. So how to evaluate that your idea is good or bad? The framework that you're going to get today is called the Fire Stick versus TV remote framework. I'm sure a lot of you have actually seen the TV remote, right? Let me ask you this question, and the question for the audience as well. Have you ever used more than 5 buttons in a TV remote? But you have, is it?
No.
No, I'm sure.
That's because I believe I have not much used TV at all.
But there are over about 30 buttons, right?
Right.
Now the interesting part is none of us has actually used more than 5 buttons. But on the Fire Stick, there are just about 5 to 6 buttons, and everybody can use it. So realize the fact that this is exactly what you need to create for your product or your solution. Ensure it is not about the idea, it is actually about the problem that you're solving, and how you're creating convenience and frictionless experience for your customer. How the customers solve the problem today is step number 2. That's what you need to understand, like Thinkable Labs did. They went to the customers, right? Otherwise, I'm sure they are with vision, and you wouldn't have been able to create a product for somebody who doesn't have that. Right? Number 3 is make your solution accessible and affordable. Once again, like both our startup champions actually did, this is what you need to understand in terms of this framework. If you use these 3 important steps of how to start a startup to evaluate your idea, chances are extremely, extremely high that you will not be part of the 99% of the startups that actually fail within the first 1 year of operations in India. On that note, leverage learnings from this show to start your startup, or you can do one thing. You can connect with all of our startup champions here and actually, who knows, get hired in their company and be their passionate employees, right? In the next episode, you are going to meet champions from the health and wellness industry. Send your reactions to us by sharing your videos on social media with the hashtag #StartupChampions2 and on the email ID which is on your screen right now. Till then, stay hungry and stay foolish. Keep watching Startup Champions 2.0.